He is making his mind ready to blow sky high. Of course, he is in the same predicament, as he must also hear us dig. Don't worry.
CANAKKALE division was so battered that it was ordered to withdraw to the rear.
July 15th. Dear Sir Ed, thank God I am not ill. But 2 months of continuous struggle, hardships, and an uncertain life have taken their toll on my body. My soldiers have held their positions against the whole French and a part of the British lines. They have worn the enemy down. But I, my brave officers and soldiers, we are all finished. So let him do.
It is pitiful to see men, not long ago strong and healthy. Their once schoolboy complexions have been replaced by hollow jowls and sunken eyes. Their bodies emaciated. Most of them should be in hospital. They are cheating death, but only just. They are walking corpses. The ghosts of CANAKKALE.
One of the things that disgusted us most was the flies. My God, what annoying creatures. Thousands of flies attacked the food on our forks while we tried to eat. We couldn't swat them away, even with our hands. Unim Mustafa.
The flies went from the feces to the jam. Their flies came from the mouths and the open wounds of the dead to the jam, to the food, into their mouths, from the open latrines, and the flies spread disease.
In July and August, disease caused by flies was so rampant that both sides evacuated hundreds of men each week. George Bollinger spent most of July in Egypt, suffering from acute gastritis. By August, 80% of the men at Anzac had dysentery. Eventually, 20,000 Turkish soldiers would die of disease. Poor, monotonous diet compounded the illness. The Allies survived on bully beef, bacon, cheese, tea and sugar, biscuits and jam. Almost always covered with flies. The bully beef and cheese melted in the heat and became inedible. The biscuits were so hard that one soldier claimed that he broke 7 teeth trying to eat them. Turkish soldiers lived on rice, pounded wheat and flour soup. Any food cooked in the rear was cold by the time it reached the troops. Both sides rarely saw any fresh vegetables or fruit.
Oh, just a drop of vinegar, or a piece of sugar, or a bowl of salad. How wonderful they would be. Just to smell or even see these delicious condiments would be enough for me. Unim Mustafa.
Soldiers spent what little free time they had, talking, reading letters, harassing their enemy across the lines, and swimming.
June 23rd.
I went down to the beach today. There were thousands in bathing when the enemy's shells commenced coming down. One shell landed amid a crowd on the beach and accounted for 17 casualties. The beach was soon cleared, but this sort of thing is happening every day. George Bollinger.
The French even found time for archaeological excavations when heavy shelling unearthed some ancient statues. Later in the campaign, the Allies organised football matches at Helles. According to some soldiers, the Turks didn't fire on the players, but actually bet on the games.
Each day around noon, there was a certain amount of calm at the front, because everyone was usually at lunch. It was as if both sides had agreed to take time off from the war, so there wasn't a sound to be heard at the front. After lunch, the British sometimes held up long sticks with puppets made out of paper and rags. They moved these above their trenches, making them dance left and right. Noonan Mustafa.
At Anzac, where the opposing trenches were closer, a special relationship developed between the Turks and the Anzacs.
There was a personal dimension to it. Not just that the trenches were so close together that both sides got to know each other in a sense. The enemies saw more of each other. The Turk was not a shadowy figure as the German was on the Western Front, except in battle. The Turk was someone with whom they became familiar, and the Anzacs were familiar to the Turks. Messages were even exchanged. Gifts were even exchanged. Turkish soldiers threw Turkish cigarettes across to the Australians. The Australians threw bully beef back. It was returned after it was opened and tried.
Some of the men even ventured into Northern to retrieve the gifts.
Ernest was a gaunt old Turk who used to come out of his trench every morning to gather firewood. Our chaps never fired a shot for a long while. They used to chuck him tins of bully and he'd salaam and thank them. Poor old Ernest died a sudden death one morning when a new lot came in the trenches. Lieutenant Harold Eric Moody.
One morning when Bill Ledley was going to the rear, he saw the remains of 20 Australians killed by a shrapnel explosion.
It was a terrible scene of slaughter, but I was struck by a rather unusual sight and went closer to investigate. Right in the centre of this example of the horrors of war, one of the soldiers' packs had burst open. And lying on the ground, just as they'd fallen out, were a pair of light blue baby's shoes, and close beside them, a pair of ladies' white gloves. They looked so much out of place, lying there in the midst of so much bloodshed and carnage, and a lump rose in my throat as I thought of the owners, probably far away in Australia, who just lost the one they loved best. Did I say lost? I'm wrong. Love is never lost. It goes on and on forever, until it's lost in God, the fountain of love. So these three who loved each other, though separated now for a little while, will meet again when shadows flee away, and will go on loving forever. Bill Ledley.
On August the 6th, the Allies launched a new major offensive to capture Canakkkale. Using 100,000 troops, they attacked on all fronts. First at Helles, then at Anzac. Cumberland was in the